Welcome to Foundations. We're the marriage architects, Mark and Heather. And whether you're newlyweds or celebrating decades together, we know there are still paths to discovering new dreams, vision, and purpose for your marriage. We can build a marriage blueprint for you. Just go to foundationsquiz.com or click the link in the show notes labeled quiz. God has incredible plans for your marriage. Join us today. Welcome once again to a podcast that maybe you have been on your pins and needles waiting for. I am Heather Fields, and we have a special guest today because Mark and I are both here, but Mark's awesome, amazing wife, Elizabeth, and you can call her Liz if you know her. She goes by either one, but Liz and Mark are here with us to tell us about their amazing trip that they had in Central America, the vision of where it came from, why. And I think most of you know by now that they have led their marriage ministry at their church for a couple decades. And they have been doing conferences for their church twice a year in the beautiful mountains. You've listened to some of our stories from when we've been there in the past podcasts, but they took it on the road internationally. And this is the fruit of all of that vision. We've merged it, of course, with Marriage Architects, but really both Liz and Mark, they're such a dynamic couple and team. I'm so glad to call you guys friends. You guys are so awesome. And I'm going to kind of prompt you, but just really, I can't wait. You're going to take over the rest of the podcast. And I want to ask you where this all came from, why you started these retreats. How did it go international and multicultural, bilingual on the road for serving people and who you served and the couples that you were with over the New Year's holiday, early 2025. So you've just been back. I can't wait. Tell us more, Mark and Liz.
Well, I want Elizabeth to share her just kind of initial thoughts when we got started. Really on our first anniversary, 24 years ago, that's when we first visited Costa Rica. And a lot of this, if not all of it, stems from that first trip. And
2000.
The big 2000. Turn of the century. Long story short is, we had Y2K for everybody that's old enough to remember all that. The bank was in the middle of a merger. I had a contract that they weren't sure if they wanted me to stay or go. It was one of those type of scenarios. We just were unsure kind of the future and what things were going to look like. So Elizabeth had a job lined up, teacher, first year teaching, and the bank decided they didn't want me. And so I was like, okay. I had another job lined up at a bank ready to go. And so we had about 4 weeks in between all that. So I was like, let's go do something fun.
So it was definitely a unique time because neither of us had anything going on. We didn't have jobs. We didn't have children. We had just really nothing going on. And so we're like, it was a time we thought we would never have this time ever in our lives again. So we'll do something fun. Let's make an adventure of it. We pulled out a map and we said, let's go somewhere. So we closed our eyes, went like this, and wherever our hand hit, that's where we went. Ended up being... We
literally went to the library because, this is before technology.
Absolutely.
Kind of could do all this for you. We went to the library and honestly, we just pulled out the map and said, okay, what looks fun? Where haven't we been?
Our fingers landed on San Jose, Costa Rica. So we're like, all right, let's go. So we booked a trip and we didn't know where we were going, what we were doing. Just looked up things to do. And we actually spent about 5 weeks exploring the country and literally just falling in love with the people of Costa Rica and the place that it is. And they were what struck us was they were so welcoming, and they just had so much love for each other and for showing us what they had in their country.
Very proud of the ecology that's there. Very proud of the landscape. Their export, obviously, of coffee. We're big coffee fans, so it was fun to be in a culture where all of that pride is now being kind of, sold to you as the tourist. This is how we do it. This is how we live. And they just couldn't show us enough. It was really kind of fun. And we did it we didn't follow all the tourist recommendations. Some people probably do that, but where it said, don't rent a car, get shuttles, we were like, we're going to rent a car. And we got all the local maps we could find, at least in the US, and none of those were right at all. They weren't accurate, which made the adventure even more fun.
We ended up in the dark, in the middle of the jungle, on roads that weren't roads, going across bridges that were just, two boards of pieces of wood, and truly an adventure, and falling in love with the place and the people of Costa Rica all the while we were there. So when we left, we knew we wanted to be back. We didn't have children. We didn't even know if we were going to have kids, but we kept saying we want to bring our kids back here someday. Whatever it is, if we have kids, when we have kids, we'd love to bring our kids back.
When was that conversation, though? And where was that conversation?
I don't remember.
Oh my God. So the hotel, Marriott had just built this brand new resort. It was a year old. And we decided we'll kind of use that as home base. So I booked our room there, at least while we were in the southern part of the country. Amazing resort, built right on the ocean. And they had this kind of tower that was really used just for decoration, and for sightseeing. You could walk up. It's probably 5 stories. You could walk up and view the ocean and the landscape around, and very hilly there. And there's coffee plantations right all around the hotel and resort. I'm thinking in the romantic. I'm thinking this is going to be a great place to do dinner for our 1-year anniversary. So I go talk to the restaurant and the hotel. They had never done that before, but they were like, "Yeah, we'll make that happen." So they set up this table up there. I don't know how much I tipped the gentleman, but our waiter was running up and down literally 5 flights in a circular staircase. I'm sure, I don't know. I hope I gave him enough money, but it was hard work out for him. Amazing dinner that we had all to ourselves. They loved the idea, and they're now selling it. That's part of their excursion.
It's actually something you can book now at the hotel 20 years later,
That's part of
25 years later.
Romance package, right, for weddings and stuff like that. It's really cute.
Idea.
And so up there in 8 o'clock at night, we're having this conversation about our future and our vision. Yeah. And I asked Elizabeth, I'm like, well, what do you see, from this vantage point? Here we are a year into our marriage. What do you see happening next? And this is where we came up with.
We take our kids back here and really just for the adventure of it, because it was such a fabulous place. We wanted to share it with our kids. So years gone by,
our 2 boys and 2 girls, because at that time I had it all planned out.
Doesn't everybody have it planned out? Yeah.
The oldest and the youngest were boys, and I had girls in the middle.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out at all. So, but that's okay.
So years later, we always talked about going back to Costa Rica someday. It was always the someday. We loved it so much. Let's do that. And 4 girls later, they've grown up and are now almost all adults. And it was just kind of one of those things that throughout the last 24 years, it was just always God had planted that seed and that kind of that dream and that vision for us to somehow go back and somehow be with the people of Costa Rica. And so throughout that 24 years, we began doing marriage ministry at our church. God was just teaching us this entire time, shaping, molding, all of those things, and teaching us how to say, how to do, what to do of marriages. So then randomly, it wasn't anything that we were seeking out or anything. In 2024, we were at a meeting and we Mark met up with a gentleman that was a friend of his for many years, and we were just catching up, saying, "Hey, we're doing this in ministry. What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I've been going out to Costa Rica. I have a ministry there, and why don't you come with me?" And Mark and I just kind of looked at each other like, "What? Of course we're gonna go. This is totally just God's timing." And so we put that trip together, and we were able to bring our kids, and that was last Christmas. And it really was a dream that we had for many years, even before we had the kids.
The first trip got interrupted with COVID, Heather. We had planned on heading to South Africa and visiting a friend of ours from college, and just taking the kids, getting them out of the country, letting them kind of see, what was happening in the world. Our philosophy on the whole, kid thing is once they get to a certain age, it's way more fun to share in those experiences, because I feel like those are going to last a lot longer than, the toys and the clothes and stuff. And, after fully outfitting a Pottery Barn kitchen and playground and things like that over the years, I figured, they're 16, 17, it's time to kind of do something different. But COVID interrupted that trip as well, for a couple of years. And so,
but we had lined it up. We'd gotten everybody's passports and started saving for whatever we were going to do. But again, that trip was put on hold and canceled. And I think, again, all within God's timing, and his hand was directing us all along the way. And we thought we knew what we wanted to do, and God switched it up a little bit on us. And we went with it because Costa Rica was where we needed to be. So there last year, and we're able to bring our kids, and connected with another ministry there called Christ for the City International. And they showed us around to all the different ministries and all the different, they have refuge houses and different ministries throughout San Jose and the surrounding areas as well.
As a therapist, Heather, I think you can appreciate this, is one thing that's been close to the kids' part is trafficking. And that just caught their, how, certain things in mission, you just kind of resonate with you, right? And it gets you at a young age. And so at a young age, they all got kind of gripped by trafficking. And of course, that's been a growing problem over the years. And Christ for the City, one thing that caught my attention is that they do a ton of different types of ministries, 17 plus countries throughout the world, been around, 30, maybe 40 years. But some of what they do along trafficking is unprecedented. And the therapy and the support that goes around that for some of the kids is, we could learn so much. It's like nothing I've seen in America, in the US, or in other models, Canada. Their success rates are in the 95th and 98th percentile. And the way they support these kids and heal them, right? Because with that trauma, everybody has a different kind of outcome when you're trying to heal. There's not just one path necessarily, but they have a formula down, and they have different resources depending on what that child needs. So from as young as 12, 13, all the way through 18, they take this child on a path that is unbelievable in healing. And what shocked me the most is that this is a generational issue for a lot of these kids, because it's what their parents knew. Their mom maybe was a single mom, and that's how she grew up. That's how the family made money. And so helping these kids through that. So on our first trip there, we were able to see 3 sites, that one in the slums, like literally it is the old garbage dump of the city. And this is where the ministry and housing is now built.
It's actually one of the largest slum in Central America. There are over 40,000 people. Well, some people will argue 30 to 40,000 people within 1 square mile. And awful, awful conditions.
And in the heart of this is hope and light like you've never seen before. A therapist, clinically trained from Colombia, and did all her graduate work, now lives in San Jose and runs a practice. And I think 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week, 9 to 5. She has anywhere from 50 to 60 kids, and all of them have had some story of trafficking. And they come and they learn about Jesus, and they learn about their country. They get free education. They get steady meals. It's just sad it can't be more, but it's an amazing, amazing work, like nothing I've ever seen. And so that really caught the girls' attention, because you have to walk down treacherous path to get to this. And you can imagine during rainy season, all the trash, all the debris, all the garbage that's coming down this path right into this place where the ministry is running and operating. So it literally is a perfect example of really the hands and the feet of Jesus kind of taking these kids from a very dark place and lifting them up and out. And that's what they do. Once they graduate, they give them other opportunities as far as jobs and service. It's remarkable. And then to contrast that, we went up to the mountains to a retreat in a center that's under lock and key, high up in the hills above San Jose, is a 24/7 facility. And same thing, but for different needs. And obviously they have different outcomes there as well. But 4 camps within this larger camp, and the girls graduate Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and Camp 4, coming together for work activities and dinner times, and obviously chapel. The national government of Costa Rica has asked them to replicate this model, and they could charge and lead this model throughout the country, and they would fund it.
Yeah.
But they want to make some changes, and they obviously want to make it a little more secular than our friends are willing to make it. And so they haven't had that opportunity to kind of compromise, but every year they have these discussions with the central government to figure out how can we replicate it, because it's that successful. It's unbelievable. So the girls had a chance to hang out with some of those girls and minister with some of those girls. This time they were,
which was fun because the last time we were there, our kids, they've taken a couple classes of Spanish in high school, but not really enough to carry on a full conversation. They can catch a word here and there. And of course, the girls there don't speak much English at all. So we had the chance to just have the girls hang out, and the ministry that they did and that they were able to do, even despite the language barrier, what brought them together was some music. They turned on some music that they knew, each other knew the same songs. And
Shakira, thank God for Shakira.
They danced.
And Marc Anthony. It's amazing, right? Those are the international superstars. And
so our girls just turned on their phones and they danced together. They made up, TikTok dances that the girls may not have seen before, but they were able to just hang out and be girls together, which these girls had not been able to do and never really been able to experience kind of sisters.
Yeah.
So that was really neat to see our girls showing that ministry without even knowing it. They were just being normal and hanging out, but yet they were feeding these girls so much love at the same time.
Shopping.
They were able to, so they were able to take the girls shopping. So there was a group of probably, I think at that time there were 10 or 12 girls, and they took them to a place that was kind of like TJ Maxx-ish. So had, clothes, shoes, anything you could want. And we gave them a budget and said, pick whatever you want, and here's the budget. And at one particular moment, the one girl, she was probably about 24, 25 or so. And she was just kind of wandering. And Emma noticed she was just kind of wandering around the store, wasn't really picking anything up, wasn't really shopping. She was kind of wandering around. And so she asked the translator, what's going on here? Can I help? And so the translator went over and told Emma, she says, well, she says she doesn't know what to do. And I was like, what do you mean she doesn't know what to do? And the translator said, well, she's never been shopping before ever in her life. She doesn't know how to shop. And if you know Emma, she had two little boys, little children, two boys.
And I think she was 17, 18 years old.
Okay, so she was younger than I thought. But Emma's face just lit up because she was like, what?
I get to teach somebody how to shop. This is,
I can teach this girl.
I know this. I got this.
Like,
minister today. But how beautiful.
and despite the fact that, again, they didn't speak the same language, but Emma was able to guide her around and pick out a shirt and hold it up and show her what her size was and show her how to look at the tag and find the size and look at what the prices were and how to put the outfit together. And then she went to the dressing room and showed her how to try things on. And yeah, this looks good or that looks silly or whatever else. And it was just such an amazing ministry opportunity right down her path. That was like,
Yes.
we didn't think that would be the opportunity that God would give her, you know? So it's really, really a neat way to kind of just let the kids do what they do. And then, so the girl ended up picking out some outfits for herself as well as some things for her little boys. She had two young toddler and a baby that she had been away from that her mom was raising. And so she was able to send them some Christmas gifts. And it just really touched all of us. And I think it ministered to us more than them. For my kids to see and give other people the opportunity to do something they'd never done before, which was just blew their minds.
And just using their own gifts, their own talents. And that's what Jesus would have us do, right? Don't pretend to be something you're not. Don't, if you're not Billy Graham, that's okay. And that's not,
don't try.
Yeah. And that's not what these girls needed. They needed that normalcy.
Connection.
And this was that time for them, to do that because their lives are very structured, in these facilities. You can imagine, right? They're very, very organized and very structured. So, it was just cool to partner with Christ for the City and see certainly what they're doing. I felt so, not ashamed, but just so like, man,
Just humbled.
exactly. Just like, wow, these folks, they need our love, our prayers, our money, but they have talent beyond belief, to just kind of get it done and minister, to their people in such a dynamic way. And I felt like I had so much to learn along those lines as well, just because they're doing such a good job. And that's the case with a lot of ministries anyways, a lot of missions overseas. They're doing such a good job. Just, where can I come alongside to help continue that process and to keep you doing such a good job, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to teach you anything or add any value. Just, I want to be that partner. And that's what the girls did. They used their talents and their skills of just being normal. And they figured out, like I said, how to communicate via music and TikTok. So don't shut TikTok down.
Yeah. Everything has a purpose. It's how you use it, right? To the glory of God. And so really hearing you guys talk about when you were first married and you knew you had a window of time and an opportunity to travel. So just saying, going to the library, you picked out a place. So this is 25 years ago, what God instilled in you and gave you that experience, then gave you that vision, and you just keep moving forward into it as your family's growing. 4 girls, not the 2 boys, 2 girls, but as your family's then growing. And this is what we want to tell you guys listening right now. This gets people out of being stuck in their marriage. When you start to align together with a common vision, all of the nitpicking, all of the fighting, the conflict in communication, all of the everyday stuff that we deal with begins to get perspective, because it's not going to be easy all the time. But where is your focus that keeps you moving forward? So I just want to ask you some more questions, because what you used from just a heart and a window to travel became a vision for your future family, which last year became an experience for your young adult daughters from 15 to 21, 22, all 4 girls to go and really have a mission experience from a vacation, but also that intentionality of using our family wants to travel. We don't want to always just give stuff at Christmas. We want to use this opportunity to travel with a purpose and intention. So balancing fun and experience, but then service, because you guys have been doing that in your marriage ministries, in your own home, in your careers, in your vision, what God has given you. You just show up with your lunch, like the little boy with the fishes and the loaves, and then see how God feeds people.
And really, that's what brought us into bringing the marriage ministry retreat to Costa Rica, because that trip last year, it was a conversation, what do you do? What do you do? And one of the leaders there, she heard that we did this and was just so touched by what you do, ministry for marriages. You do this retreat. That sounds pretty amazing. We've never done anything like that.
Wow.
And she really had a heart for her missionaries, so her ministers who were running all of the ministries and their marriages. And so she asked us, invited us, well, can you do that here with the pastors and the ministers here?
It started just as a simple conversation, like Liz says, and that's the way it's been kind of all along. Conversation we had at dinner on our 1-year anniversary. I always have in my heart, it's like, okay, great, want to go serve, want to go do something, but I gotta have a promise, right? I gotta have some kind of
result. Yeah,
that's just by nature. That's just how I'm wired, and so. Right. Even if it doesn't have to have that kind of result, I'll create it just to make me feel better. And so, when we're talking about bringing the kids and all, the purpose was certainly to expose them, to a larger world and missions internationally. I had that opportunity as a young child. I know you did as well. Heather, your parents, cut their teeth in ministry on the mission field. Same when we started the marriage ministry at our church. Our pastor hired me as the kind of church counseling director and gave us kind of free rein to create and grow things. And, but I can guarantee you when we went to our first marriage retreat that same year we were married, and I think we were just newlyweds, right? 6-9 months. And we hated every minute of it. We knew at that point we were going to create our own thing and do our own thing, but we had no idea it would now be.
I love that. That's always our go-to. I don't know if any of you out there listening have been to a marriage retreat or conference and you hated it, and that's why you are barely even listening to us now. But this is what is birthed out of everything we do, is to make it relevant and real and experiential.
For years, we called it the unretreat because I didn't want people to feel, my gosh.
It's another conference where we just sit there.
Right.
And take notes.
Talk about their boring marriage and, all the same, this sounds terrible, but right, all the same kind of marriage related scriptures, right?
Yes.
And this is God's word. It's alive and it's vibrant, and
yes,
there's more out there. There's more out there that you and I haven't even used in the marriage architects. His word is alive and dynamic. And how can we sit here and talk about the same things I heard at church camp, in 7th grade about marriage? There's got to be something more. So we built it. And if you're curious, and we're happy to share what that looks like, you can reach out to us, at themarriagearchitects.co, and we're happy to, share and bring that experience to you anywhere. But
tell me, as you guys you'd never done this before, you had to do your traditional retreat, which is untraditional, the unretreat, marriage retreat, to people who were not your language. So once again, you're stepping out into an experience of the unknown. You're with really an amazing ministry organization. So you had that trust built with the leadership there, that they would be that bridge for you. But here you go. You had your supplies, you had all your stuff ready to go, Liz, and all the organization to make it look like, oh, it's no big thing, is a huge feat of work. And you're taking your 4 girls with you again.
They actually asked to be back. They were so excited. They were like, hey, can we do that for Christmas again?
Oh, really?
could not wait to go back again. So when when they asked us to come back this second time to do the retreat, the girls were reading us, right? You're not going with it. So yeah, they really just fell in love with it just as much as we did.
So we're trying to work on a whole generation of, marriage retreat folks that can help us. And we're 80 years old and can't, necessarily step around. We want them to be able to teach this. And certainly that's another fresh word, for their generation that I would look forward to. Yeah. We're super excited to go. And like Liz said, it came out of a conversation. The country director shared with me how she, and I'm quoting, she lost 2 of her pastors, missionaries, to divorce.
Wow.
And you know how we feel about that. Divorce is, it's a killer and a relational killer, and will do anything. That's why we started the Marriage Architects, is anything you can to fight against that. And what I heard was almost like, a mother's heart breaking, like I lost a child. I mean, that's how it came across. And I told her, I said, Gretel, I said, it's just, I know you do, marriage ministry, and I know you do, retreats, and I know that you've been active and you're a therapist. She said, it's just so sad. This shouldn't happen.
Right.
And I agree 100%. I said, no, when we get back to the US, we can help. And I've got some ideas, and let's get on the phone and kind of share those. And like I said, a year later, we're back doing this retreat.
So you're right. So our retreat was, what we typically do is we go to the mountains, and it's 3 days. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And what Gretel asked us to do in Costa Rica was one day, just a Saturday afternoon, or Saturday kind of 9 to 4 type of thing. And we, gosh, how's this going to work? Because number one, we don't even speak Spanish. Number two,
between the two of us, we've had probably 6 years
of
high school stuff, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's tough. Unless you're doing it every day, all the time. It's hard. And neither of us have really presented with an interpreter before. I certainly haven't. He had a little bit before on the mission field, but I hadn't even spoken with an interpreter, so I had no idea what I was doing.
So everything takes, twice as long or a little bit longer, to kind of get through. And then just being out of country, out of pocket, right, in a different environment,
a different culture,
different building, different facilities. What can go wrong?
Yeah, and we tried to think through everything. So, I packed a suitcase of supplies. I had an extra pair of everything. I had an extra pair of scissors and a Sharpie. I tried to think of everything. We had the rubber gloves and
all the elementary education teachers.
Yeah.
Because it makes a difference when you know how to,
and I know
how to plan and prepare.
How to plan for all of those activities that we try to do. So it is definitely experiential, and that's what made it so dynamic, was that it didn't matter that we didn't speak Spanish. It didn't matter at all, because the experiences that we presented to the couples and the way that they were interacting, it was completely universal. They had very similar reactions, very similar experiences as the couples that we do the same kind of things here in the United States with. So it was really, really cool to see the materials that we presented. It didn't matter. We did
a lot of vetting with the curriculum, leadership and stuff, just to make sure, this is on track and this is something that could be received. And what we didn't know is that actually that's the way they learn in that culture. The Hispanic culture loves that experience learning, right? So +1 in the, I'm not going to sit and lecture to you, right, in the old traditional conference style. Get you involved, get you to cast a vision and really dream those dreams that God's given you, and then interact, right, with your spouse and continue that process even as we left. So that was a win, just knowing that we had the right curriculum. And then, like Liz said, what was just remarkable to me is the stories were identical, right? The same kind of struggles. These were all pastors from the city, and God put the right people in the right seats. And we'll share a little bit about that
Pretty
here.
amazing who was in the room.
Absolutely.
We didn't even know it.
And we couldn't have orchestrated that
Yeah,
at
we
all.
couldn't have invited the people had
No.
we even known.
And even the director, of the country, director for Christ for the City, she had put kind of out a blanket invitation, and at the end of the day, she wasn't sure, if everybody that committed would actually come, but they did. And
This is on their vacation time, holiday time, right? So
on Christmas break still, they hadn't even gone back to work yet, but they wanted to participate. They felt like it was important for theirs. And I think we had 20 couples that came, so the room was packed. And
I love it.
And it was full. But they shared one pastoral couple that was there. We didn't know this till later. They had been married 17 years and in ministry, but had been separated for 2 years. And she just came back
Wow.
in November. So, a month ago, she came back to try what we were told to one last time to kind of, make things work. And what they walked away with, Heather, it's just the Holy Spirit and God doing his thing. But they had tears in their eyes. They're sharing, their story and kind of their struggle. And we have some of that on video, and it's just remarkable to see how God was even then, using the materials that we had developed and using that environment to knit it all together again and restore and heal, which is, of course, why we went. So I just stopped from it. They were the last couple to go. It was ending, and I knew I wanted them to kind of go last and present.
Yeah.
I didn't know why, 100%. And I just felt the Lord saying to me at the end, as they were done talking, the Lord's like, if you came for just one couple, it was worth it. This was worth it. And so.
And it's really neat to find that out afterwards, because we had no idea. Again, we didn't speak the language.
Any of their stories, any of the backstory from these precious people who are in ministry serving Central America, all across the region. Wow.
We had some leaders there from Ecuador. We had some leaders there from Chile.
Yeah.
The leader there of the I'm not going to get the name exactly right, but it's basically the San Jose Pastors Association, and she's the president of about she oversees about 700 pastors and ministries there in Costa Rica. She came, her and her husband, and everybody just had a great time, and we were able to joke and laugh with them and share the same kind of experiences here in the States. It was literally 100% transparent, right? The needs that they had were still the same. The desires that they had were still the same. And God moved. God showed up and did his thing, and he knit marriage back together if they needed it. In most cases, it was just strength and encouragement for the journey, right? So that all the people that they pour out into, we know this as preachers' kids, right? It can be lonely, and it doesn't matter what country you're in or what culture. It can be lonely, and it can still be a struggle. And if God gets that pastor, and if he destroys that marriage, people are watching and they're looking at them, and he's going to influence others. And so we were there to fight against that. They caught that vision. They caught that hope. And we had several testimonies afterwards saying, you gave me some renewed hope. You gave me a different way of even looking at scripture. And they had never thought about, Psalm 23:6. We talk a lot about the 23rd Psalm, but that relentless pursuit and how that translates in different versions of the Bible, they hadn't thought about it from that perspective. And they were so encouraged to be like, absolutely, God's got me, and he is not going to let me go. He's going to hunt me down, as the Hebrew version and the Hebrew translation says, he's going to hunt me down. And so it was encouraging. It was certainly encouraging to us. And we're off to the next adventure. So
a fun little thing was we had an interpreter, and he and his wife had come. He came to interpret, but halfway through he called kind of a backup guy to come, his friend
of his,
to back up interpret so that he could participate. So he was like, anymore, I want to participate with my wife. So he kind of participated with his wife the second half while we had a second guy come and interpret. So it was kind of neat. He really wasn't expecting to get out of it. So
him and his wife were Christ for the City. They run the Central American training education program. They also work for the government in Ecuador and also in Costa Rica as professional translators and teachers, educators.
Really neat couple.
And so it was fun to see them, just jump right in and kind of help us succeed in any way possible.
That's a win-win for the body of Christ. And, the relationships of these ministers for the marriages. I can't thank you enough for going and representing and being the hands and feet of Jesus to encourage and let people know. And that's really our heart for these podcasts, is to just give you real, authentic stories that reminds you you're not alone. You're not the only one. You guys saw how across cultures, it's the same thing. It's the human heart and marriages and relationships. It breaks down to the same thing. You're not alone. Don't listen to the enemy's lies that he wants you and your marriage to feel like it's hopeless, because it's not. Connect with us. And any closing takeaways, those two stories that you just told about, the translator story and then the couple that had been separated for 2 years and just got back together, and this really put new vision and focus for their marriage. Anything else that you guys have from this?
Thank you for that great transition, because along with new vision for those marriages, right, that's what God continually does if you're letting him. And that's what we pray for. We look for those opportunities, and we left Costa Rica with a new vision and a bigger vision, and one that we hadn't thought of, and it never,
I love it,
ever would have thought about it at dinner 24 years ago. We just couldn't have conceived it. So
greater things, right? That verse, the greater things that you have not seen or heard of.
Absolutely. And the dreams, that God inspires, it's like, sometimes you get stuck there going, okay, that's cool, but can that really happen? And of course, Satan loves that doubt or that fear, right? It
Yes.
But what we came away with is obviously a new excitement and a renewed vision, but also things that we hadn't thought about for the marriage architects, and certainly for us in our future and for our kids as well. So, we've been invited back to minister to this group of pastors. They want to get all 700 together. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds like at a rally, and we're going to need a lot of help to do that. So I'm not sure we're ready for the 700, but maybe 100 or 50,
I'm thinking 7,000, 70,000, 70 times 7.
The citywide marriage crusade.
Yeah.
So that's exciting, because again, we didn't know she was going to be there, her and her husband, and they had such a great time. Their marriage, she said, their marriage is strong and it's healthy. And it's certainly, she said, I could share stories, right? As anybody who's been married for a while. I did kind of some quick math, and the average in the room actually was like 18, 20 years.
Yeah.
We had several that were 40, 43 years, so that was exciting. That they still found such, encouragement and such hope. And we've experienced that here in the U.S. So,
but one thing that they definitely described it as was refreshing. More than anything, the couples that, they'd been married a long time, they'd kind of done this.
Right. Show me something new at this marriage retreat.
They found it absolutely refreshing.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when we speak of vision, it was interesting because there was literally a man there. They had been married 43 years. They had not always lived for Christ. Early on, they got together and were just living together, but then got saved, got married, but he was literally losing his vision over the past 6 months, and it's deteriorating. And he's praying, God,
Yeah.
God, restore my sight. But what he learned, him and his wife, during these, experiential kind of projects that we do,
Wow.
is a new way to see his wife.
Oh
And
my gosh. I'm going to start crying. That is amazing.
yeah,
It was precious.
it was
Oh
awesome.
my gosh.
So
I do-
it was, he was crying.
Mhm.
That
She's got
goes
a-
beyond human vision. I mean, that's a heart connection and relationship.
she had not heard him speak like this. And it's what I heard guys saying is like, this is just life. This is perfectly natural, right?
Yeah.
They're in their 60s and these are afflictions that, just the age we have to accept. And God was giving him through this ministry a new way to see his marriage and to accept the help that she wants to get, the person that she's now stepping into. He literally said she has new roles and new responsibilities. And as a man, he was struggling with what is that going to look like? And it was really cool to see God move in that. So when you talk about vision,
Yes.
people left with new vision in ways that we had no idea that was going to happen. We left with new vision opportunities. Like I said, we've been asked to come back and do these conferences again in Costa Rica with other organizations, not just Christ for the City, because those people were there. We met a gentleman that wants to use our curriculum to train his pastors. He's got about 100 pastors in Chile right now that he's training. And he's got a family section that he said, I've been struggling. He's an educator. He's a university professor. And he's like, I just haven't found the right words to put in here and the right coursework until this. So he wants to use us at his online university.
He asked, can you make some videos? Can you do that? And Mark says, I have them. It's all ready to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll translate it. I'll do it all for
Yeah,
you.
he says, I don't even need the translation. I'll take care of it all.
Yeah.
And then we met, another ministry leader from Ecuador, like I said, and he's opened up the doors, for us to go to Ecuador. So we could have never put any of that together. Matter of fact, we were originally kind of planning this, and when our team prayed over us back in October, right, for this trip, you were there, part of that. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about, Lord, just help us get through, that first week in January.
Help us be able to talk, say whatever we need to say. Yeah.
So to the whole vision question, I look at the material that talks about dreams, vision, and purpose, and I go, man, I've got a whole new one here, and God's working that, and we're just walking, doing what he's called us to do step by step, and we'll see where that goes. And the resources will come. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt, right? The resources will come. God is the great Jehovah Jireh. He is the one who provides. And so why should I worry? Why should I fear? I'm not going to worry about it at all. So,
but you needed to take steps. You both needed to come together and take those steps. And that's what we want to encourage people to do, because just listening, just praying, faith without works is dead. I always say it is so easy, and yet it's hard, because you have to just get up and get out and move, reach out, whether it's us or somebody else at the Marriage Architects. You have to take action to see that miracle happen. You had to, Peter had to get out of the boat and start walking on the water towards Jesus in the middle of the storm. And your marriage might be in the middle of a storm today, but Jesus is there with you. But get out of the boat, get out of the pit, Get out of where you feel stuck. And just like the testimonies that Marc and Liz are sharing of this experience, we practice this ourselves. That's why we encourage all of you listening to do this, because we know we have to kind of push ourselves. Marriage should be a partnership where you help and challenge each other, not conflict each other and push each other. And we've talked about those challenges, even in planning the retreat, some of the differences of opinion that you guys have, that you've worked through to push each other to get to this fruit and the obedience of what you guys did going on this retreat and the multiplication effect, just like the fishes and the loaves, 5,000. And that's only the men that were counted, not the women and the children. So the multiplication of what your act of faith, putting that action behind your faith and going and doing with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. We just encourage you today to step out and reach out to us. There's a place on our website you can give us your email. You can schedule a time to talk with us on our Calendly links. And if you're like Heather, Marc, we either want to retreat in our country. We know that on the podcast, we have people listening. Where was it, Marc? Was it Finland, Australia, all over the place?
Whatever reason, yeah, we have a good following in the Scandinavian countries. Maybe it's just really cold there right now. I'm not sure, and everybody's hunkered down. But yeah, they are listening in Finland and all the Scandinavian countries, really. So Norway, I don't know, but we're ready to go. Right? We'll close those doors. We'll be there, and we'll follow that path. And and it's interesting. I don't say it, kind of lightheartedly, but it happens so simply, the same way you just described in your marriage, right? Just step out, get off your mat, so to speak, as we talk about. God wants to heal. He's for you to restore. He wants something better, and it can happen. I think of all of those 20 couples on a Saturday that, I don't know, they had to kind of clear their schedule, or they had to make it happen to get there. And, they face the same challenges we do, right? And maybe a flat tire, or maybe a sick child, or, something didn't kind of go right that morning. But they still got there, and they left going, man, thank you, Lord, for making a way and that opportunity. So you can do the same if your marriage is struggling, even if it's not, even if you heard, that it just needs to go to the next level, and there's an itch or kind of a question saying, I know I can do something more, then that can be part of the vision too. We can help with all that. marriagearchitects.co. There's plenty of information there. And also, we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to us and let us know how we can help.
Sounds good. Thank you for joining us. And you will hear a 2025 vision in our next podcast. And we're going to intermittently sprinkle testimonies, couple stories like Tom and Joanne that you've just maybe listened to, as well as other guests that we're going to be hosting. And also tidbits all along the way, teaching that we use at these retreats. We won't be able to do the experiential. We will have the purpose, the vision, the dreams, goals, and a purpose for your marriage. We love you all. We will talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us at Foundations. Remember to take our quiz for your free marriage blueprint by clicking the link in the show notes. You can also check out our website at foundationsquiz.com.